Think about the fresh greens you bought last week. How far did they travel to reach your plate? What if I told you the solution to feeding our massive, overcrowded cities isn't out here in the countryside, but right inside the city itself? In fact, it might be in the abandoned warehouse down your street, or even in the basement of your apartment building. And what's crazier is that this solution uses 95% less water, needs no pesticides, and grows food literally 10 times faster than a traditional farm. But there's a huge multi-million-dollar problem stopping it from taking over the world. This is the real unedited story of vertical farming. We all see it, right? Our cities are getting bigger, more apartments, more people, more traffic. But have you stopped to think about where all the food for everyone is going to come from? That avocado on your toast, the lettuce in your burger, it travels an average of 1,500 miles to get to your plate. It's a system that's fragile, wasteful, and honestly, it's kind of breaking. So what happens when a pandemic hits, or a drought, or a fuel crisis? Those shelves empty out real fast. But a group of engineers, entrepreneurs, and dreamers think they've found a way to change all of that. They want to turn our cities from concrete jungles into food-producing powerhouses. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is happening right now.
Let's talk about the problem, and I mean the real problem, because it's way bigger than just we need more food. It's a perfect storm of issues that all crash together right in the middle of our urban centers.
First, there's the distance. This is called food mileage. Think about a head of lettuce grown in California. It gets picked, packed on a truck, and driven across the country for days. To keep it from wilting, it's sprayed, chilled, and packaged in plastic. By the time it gets to your city, it's already lost a huge amount of its nutritional value. A lot of it doesn't even make it. Imagine a truck full of spinach. Some of it gets bruised, some of it wilts, some of it just gets thrown out because it doesn't look perfect. We waste nearly 40% of all food produced in this country, and a huge chunk of that is lost in this transportation process. We're burning fossil fuels to transport food that often ends up in the trash. It's a system that makes zero sense. Second, we're running out of space. Traditional farming needs land, a lot of it. And as cities expand, they often sprawl out over the best farmland we have. We're paving over the very soil that feeds us to build more suburbs and shopping malls. It's a direct conflict. Do we build houses or do we grow food? We can't keep making that choice forever. And third, and this is the big one that often gets ignored, climate change. Farming is incredibly vulnerable to the weather. A single unexpected frost can wipe out an entire orange harvest in Florida. A drought in the Midwest can destroy the wheat and corn supply. These aren't theoretical problems anymore. We're seeing them on the news every single year. Our food supply chain is like a long, delicate chain stretched across the entire continent. If one link breaks, the whole thing falls apart. And in a city of 10 million people, if that chain breaks, you have a crisis on your hands within days. We built these incredibly dense, complex ecosystems of people, but we left their most basic need, food, entirely in the hands of a fragile, ancient system that's buckling under pressure. So the challenge is immense. How do you feed millions of people packed into a tiny area with total reliability, without relying on trucks from thousands of miles away, and without using a massive amount of water or land? For a long time, the answer was you can't. Cities can't feed themselves, but that's exactly what vertical farming is trying to prove wrong.
So what exactly is vertical farming? Let's break it down, because it's way more than just stacking plants on shelves.
At its core, it's about growing food indoors in controlled environments, on multiple layers stacked vertically. Think of it like a high-rise apartment building for plants, but the magic isn't in the stacking, it's in the total control. These are not greenhouses, they are sealed, high-tech environments where every single variable is monitored and adjusted by computers 24/7. Let's start with the most common method you've probably seen, hydroponics. This is where plants are grown without any soil at all. Their roots dangle directly into a water-based, nutrient-rich solution. Because the roots have direct access to everything they need, the plants don't have to waste energy growing huge root systems to search for food and water in the soil. All that energy goes straight into growing the leafy, delicious part that we actually want to eat. This is why hydroponic lettuce grows so much faster than soil-based lettuce. Then there's a more advanced version called aeroponics. This is like hydroponics on steroids. Instead of the roots sitting in water, they're suspended in the air inside a dark chamber. Then, at precise intervals, a fine mist of nutrient-rich water is sprayed directly onto the roots. This method is even more efficient because it uses up to 95% less water than traditional farming. NASA actually pioneered a lot of this research for growing food in space, which just sounds cool.
But the plants can't live on water and nutrients alone. They need light. Since they're indoors, there's no sun.
This is where LED technology completely changed the game. We're not talking about the old energy-hogging lights. Modern, full-spectrum LEDs are incredibly efficient. And here's the wild part. Scientists can fine-tune the exact color spectrum of light to produce specific results in the plants. Want your basil to be extra flavorful? Blast it with more blue light. Want your lettuce to grow bigger, crunchier leaves? A specific ratio of red and far red light can make that happen. They are literally programming the light recipes. It's like photosynthesis, but engineered and optimized by a computer. And the control goes even further. There are no seasons indoors, there are no bugs, so absolutely zero pesticides are needed. There is no wind, no hail, no droughts. The temperature and humidity are kept at the perfect level year-round. This means these farms can grow food 365 days a year, non-stop. A vertical farm can get through 30 harvests of lettuce in the same time a traditional farm gets through maybe 2 or 3. The productivity per square foot is just insane.
Now, where do we put these things? This is the urban design part. They don't need fertile land. They can go anywhere. We're seeing them pop up in all sorts of crazy places. That's the beauty of it.
Artisan Green started as a small pilot site but is now scaling to a 5,500 square meter facility, 18 times larger than its original farm. To keep that growth reliable, it partnered with Siemens to develop a centralized farm management system. Instead of vague automation promises, this system executes specific measurable tasks. Automated nutrient mixing, programmable LED lighting that can shift spectrum for plant quality, and real-time energy monitoring across HVAC and power-hungry grow lights. By storing over 100 customizable nutrient and climate recipes, the farm is able to keep production consistent across multiple sites while sharply reducing labor. In Montreal, Lufa Farms has built what they describe as the world's largest rooftop greenhouse, spanning over 15,000 square meters. Inside, sunlight streams through insulated glass, supplemented only when needed by efficient LEDs. More than 11,000 kilograms of food leave this greenhouse every week. Tomatoes, aubergines, cucumbers grown above busy city streets. But Lufa's innovation is not only in the greenhouse itself, it's in distribution. Through subscription boxes and an online market, households across Montreal receive produce directly, keeping supply chains short and proving that urban agriculture can scale both in production and logistics through direct-to-consumer networks. In the Netherlands, Phood Farm pushes innovation in yet another direction through aquaponics. Here, tilapia swim in tanks producing nutrient-rich waste, while bacteria convert it into nitrates that flow into hydroponic beds of leafy greens. The plants filter the water, which returns clean to the fish, creating a closed cycle that uses 90% less water than typical soil farming. This system makes chemical fertilizers unnecessary and produces both protein and vegetables together. But aquaponics is not limitless. It works best with short-cycle crops like salads, not long-season staples like grains or tubers. Even with these limits, it illustrates how circular systems can add diversity to urban food strategies. The benefits are staggering. Fresher food that's harvested and sold on the same day in the same city, dramatically less water use, which is a huge deal in places facing water shortages, zero agricultural runoff, which is a major source of pollution in rivers and oceans, and a massively reduced reliance on fossil fuels for transportation. A head of lettuce from a vertical farm down the street has a carbon footprint that is a tiny fraction of one shipped from California.
It sounds like paradise, right? The ultimate solution. So why isn't every single city doing this? Why haven't these farms taken over the world? Well, that's because we're about to hit the massive multi-million-dollar wall.
The million-dollar mirage emerges when the economics of vertical farming move from glossy presentations to actual balance sheets. Despite years of excitement and billions in investment, several high-profile firms have cut staff and closed or scaled back sites after heavy spending failed to deliver promised returns. The reason comes down to a stubborn reality: the cost of manufacturing your own sunlight. In an outdoor field, the primary energy source is free. Indoors, every sunrise comes with a bill. A vertical farm may run millions of LEDs for 12 to 18 hours each day, backed by constant heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Industry case studies suggest that a 30,000 square foot facility in New York might spend about $216,000 a year just on lighting and another $120,000 on cooling and air circulation. These numbers are not outliers. They illustrate how high fixed overheads and steep energy bills combine into a structural cost problem. The result is visible at the grocery store. Agriculture consultant Peter Tasgel has estimated that vertically farmed lettuce can cost roughly 5 times more per pound than its field-grown equivalent. That price difference shifts the product from a staple to a specialty, with most sales landing in premium grocery aisles or boutique restaurants. It makes the vision of feeding entire populations far harder to realize. Energy economics also restrict what crops these systems can grow. To have any chance at profitability, companies focus on fast-growing, high-value items such as leafy greens, herbs, and in some cases, berries. They avoid bulk staples like wheat, corn, rice, or potatoes because the combination of long growth cycles and heavy energy loads is simply uneconomic. In practice, this means vertical farming contributes mainly at the margins of the food system rather than its foundation.
The single biggest problem, the thing that has bankrupted dozens of vertical farming startups and keeps experts up at night, is painfully simple: energy, specifically the cost of energy.
All of that amazing technology comes with a huge power bill. Those hyper-efficient LED lights, there are thousands of them, and they're on for 16 to 20 hours a day. The climate control systems, the water pumps, the computers, it all sucks up a colossal amount of electricity. Right now, for many crops, the energy cost is simply too high to compete with traditional sun-powered farms. This is the great paradox of vertical farming. It solves so many environmental problems, but its own energy hunger creates a different environmental problem unless that energy comes from renewable sources. If the electricity powering the farm is from a coal-fired power plant, are we really solving anything, or are we just trading one problem for another?
So, can vertical farming solve the urban food crisis?
The answer is a definitive maybe. As Joe Swartz of Hydro puts it, any system needs to do 2 things: serve the needs of the plant and be economically viable for the farmer. It won't replace traditional farming. We're not going to grow fields of wheat or corn in skyscrapers. That's just not practical or necessary. What vertical farming can do is become a crucial part of a more resilient, diversified food system for cities. It can take over the production of the leafy greens, the herbs, the berries, the fragile, water-heavy, and perishable stuff that puts the most strain on our current system. Its real value isn't in outright replacing the old system, but in making our cities less vulnerable. It's a backup generator for our food supply. When a disaster hits or a drought cuts off the supply from California, a city with its own network of vertical farms won't panic. Its shelves will still be stocked. It turns the concept of a city on its head. For centuries, cities have been consumers. They take resources, food, water, energy, from the outside world. Vertical farming is one of the technologies that can start to turn cities into producers. It's a step towards a more self-sufficient, sustainable, and secure urban future. It's not about building farms in the city just because it's cool. It's about building cities that can finally take care of themselves.
Would you pay a premium for hyper-local, pesticide-free salad if it was grown using fossil fuel electricity? Say which city you live in and why. If you want more grounded looks at city-scale sustainability, subscribe and join the comments below.